Look around you. The solid ground beneath your feet, the air you breathe, the ocean stretching into the horizon. It feels permanent. It feels eternal. But there was a time when none of this existed. No oceans, no atmosphere, no life, not even the earth itself. To understand how our home came to be, we must travel back. Back through billions of years of cosmic chaos to a time of violence and creation. Welcome to the beginning of everything. This is the story of our planet's birth. 4.6 billion years ago, our corner of the universe was nothing more than a giant, cold cloud of gas and interstellar dust, a nebula floating silently in the dark. The remnants of dead stars waiting for a spark to trigger a new dawn. Then, a nearby event disrupted the peace. A massive star died in a violent explosion. A supernova. The shockwave from this explosion ripped through space, slamming directly into our peaceful solar nebula. Gravity took over. The cloud began to collapse in on itself, squeezing matter tighter and tighter together. As it collapsed, conservation of angular momentum forced it to spin. The giant cloud flattened into a massive, rotating disk. At the very heart of this disk, gravity compressed matter so intensely that temperatures skyrocketed. The pressure became unbearable. Nuclear fusion ignited. In a flash of unimaginable light, our sun was born. But the sun did not consume everything. Left behind in the spinning disk was a chaotic ring of leftovers, the raw ingredients for planets. Close to the young star, it was too hot for gases to condense. Only materials with high melting points could survive, rock and metal. This is where a magical process called accretion began. Microscopic dust particles began to bump into each other. Driven by electrostatic forces, these tiny specks clung together, gradually growing into small pebbles. Over hundreds of thousands of years, pebbles became boulders. Boulders became massive rocks miles wide. These large bodies developed their own gravitational fields. They became planetesimals, the building blocks of worlds. The inner solar system became a cosmic demolition derby. Thousands of planetesimals racing on chaotic paths. Collisions were inevitable. When they crashed at lower speeds, they fused together, growing ever larger. Out of this chaotic cosmic lottery, a winner began to emerge in the third orbit from the Sun. The proto-Earth. As the proto-Earth grew, its gravitational pull turned into a sweeping broom, clearing out its entire orbital pathway. Millions of tons of rock and iron smashed into the young planet daily. Every impact brought immense kinetic energy. This energy was converted into pure heat. The young planet was getting hotter and hotter from the inside out. Radioactive elements trapped deep within the planet's core began to decay, generating even more unbearable temperatures. Eventually, the entire planet reached its melting point. Earth transformed into a living hell, a global magma ocean, a sphere of liquid rock glowing fiercely in the cold, dark void of space, a planetary crucible. In this liquid state, a critical event occurred, the iron catastrophe. Heavy elements, like iron and nickel, sank under gravity's pull, migrating rapidly toward the center of the planet. Meanwhile, lighter rocky materials floating like scum rose to the surface, forming the primitive mantle. This separation created Earth's layered structure. Most importantly, it created a solid metallic core. As the molten iron core spun, it generated a massive invisible shield, Earth's magnetic field. Without this magnetic shield, the sun's harsh radiation would have stripped away any future atmosphere. Life would never stand a chance. Earth was finally stabilizing, cooling slightly. But its greatest test was about to arrive from the shadows. Another protoplanet had formed nearby, sharing a similar orbit. Scientists call it Theia. Theia was the size of Mars, and it was on a direct, unalterable collision course with Earth. What happened next was the most violent cataclysm in Earth's history, the giant impact. Theia struck Earth at an angle, delivering a devastating, glancing blow. The energy released was enough to melt both planets entirely. Theia was completely destroyed, its iron core melting into Earth's own. Millions of tons of Earth's primitive crust and mantle were blasted out into orbit, forming a massive incandescent ring of fire around our world. From the surface of Earth, the sky would look like a ceiling of burning liquid gold. But gravity never stops working. Within this ring of fire, the debris began to clump together, repeating the accretion process. Astonishingly fast, perhaps in less than a century, this debris gathered to form a companion. Our moon was born. Back then, the moon was 17 times closer to Earth than it is today. It filled the horizon, an intimidating, burning giant. The impact also tilted Earth's axis by 23.5 degrees. This tilt gave our world something vital for its future: seasons. Without Theia's violent sacrifice, our world would be unrecognizable. No moon, no seasons, and a completely different composition. Without Theia's violent sacrifice, our world would be unrecognizable. No moon, no seasons, and a completely different composition. The Earth and its new companion were locked in a dangerous, fiery dance, slowly drifting apart as the centuries rolled by. But as the cosmic bombardment slowly began to ease, the molten Earth could finally begin its next phase, cooling down. The Hadean Eon had begun, a dark age of steam, fire, and the first solid foundations of our world. Gases trapped within the cooling mantle erupted through thousands of active volcanoes. Carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. This volcanic outgassing created Earth's very first primitive atmosphere, a toxic, unbreathable blanket of gas. Earth now had a core, a mantle, a solid crust, and an atmosphere. But it was still missing the key ingredient for life. The atmosphere was filled with water vapor, but the surface was still too hot for liquid water to rest. Any rain would instantly vaporize. The planet was waiting for the temperature to cross a critical threshold, a tipping point that would change everything. And then it happened. The crust cooled just enough. The stage was set for the greatest downpour in the history of the world, a rainstorm that would last not for days, not for months, but for thousands of years, an endless deluge that would fill the empty basins and create the first primitive oceans, the cradle where life would eventually open its eyes. But where did all this water really come from? Was it just volcanic steam, or did a barrage of icy visitors from the outer solar system deliver it? And how did the first organic molecules survive the chemical chaos of these toxic new seas? That is a story for the next chapter. The story of water, meteor strikes, and the spark of life. Thank you for watching Part 1 of this epic journey through time. If you want to witness the birth of life, subscribe and click the bell icon. What part of Earth's violent birth surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. See you in Part 2, The Water World.